$70 billion. $70 billion. We could build a church on that. This year, $70 billion gifts will be returned to the stores in the United States of America. I can't believe it. Y'all need to quit buying gifts. You just need to stop altogether. You're just wasting your money. Do you know what economists call this? Dead zone activity. It's dead zone activity. There is absolutely, in fact, it costs money to retail stores to take back gifts. It costs them money to do that. $70 billion. We're just not good gift givers. You know what they suggest? Give money. Give money. I like that idea. And even gift cards. You know gift cards? You know those things that you get when that if you don't use them, then you're going to be in real trouble. Or if you do use them, then there's a fee that's entailed in that, and that you won't be able to use it all. That the fee uses up all the gifts, the value of the gift card. It's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful way to separate you from. But $70 billion in gifts returned here in the United States means that amount of money is being spent by all of us and not appreciated by the people who are getting the gift. Doesn't that beg a question? Doesn't that beg the question of how we have, shall I say it, how we have lost our minds when it comes to knowing how to value others to the point, if we get that much wrong, we're giving people stuff they don't want. And if we give people stuff they don't want, that they return it for something else, why not ask them what they want in the first place? Or, better yet, why not stop this glut of purchasing stuff for people who don't need anything? My mother asks me every year, what do you want for Christmas? Nothing. I don't want anything for Christmas. Oh, but I've got to get you something. I must get you something. Buy me some underwear. That's it. And so, every year, I get underwear for my mother. It's wonderful. It's great. So, the point is, brothers and sisters, that if we are that off in our ability to read the desires of other people, what does that say about how we should pay attention to what's going on even in our own lives? It's the reason why this, by the way, this isn't a new problem. It's the reason why the guy in the synagogue could say something as stupid as he says today in our gospelism. He was so disconnected from reality. He was so disconnected from actual human sanity. He was so disconnected from what really reality was that he had the audacity to say to Jesus and the people at the synagogue, whom Jesus had just healed, a woman who was stooped over. You ever seen somebody like that? It's horrible. They were just stooped over, couldn't stand up, 18 years. I mean, it was obvious this woman needed help. She needed mercy. She needed somebody to come and rescue her. And on the Sabbath day, Jesus says, you're healed. She straightens up. What does the religious guy say? How dare you? On the Sabbath, there are 6 days to do work where you can come to the synagogue and be healed. Come during those days. Unbelievable. That disconnected from reality, that asleep to what sanity really is. This man needed to be corrected, and Jesus did that. He looked at that man and said, you hypocrite. You know what a hypocrite is, don't you? It's me. Saying one thing and doing another. A hypocrite is someone who says one thing and does something else. A hypocrite is someone who thinks so highly of their own rightness that they're asleep to their need for mercy. A hypocrite is someone who is so asleep, so insane, and disconnected from reality that they don't realize just how much they need the mercy of God. They are asleep to their true condition. It was obvious to see what kind of situation this woman was in. She was bent over. It was really clear to everybody this woman needed mercy. She needed help. She needed healing. But the man in the synagogue was so gripped by his insanity. By the way, gang, I'm using that word on purpose because it really is insane to be so sick and to think you're so well. To be so sick and to not realize the depth of need that you have for God and for His mercy. Why you need to be, dare I say it, orthodox on purpose. Why you need to constantly refer yourself to the mercy of God, that you don't stand above other people, that you don't stand superior to others around you. You need God's mercy, and to be blind to that reality is the height of being insane. It is crazy to be sick and think you're well. It is crazy to be bent over and weak and to think you stand tall and are strong. That's insane, folks. That's crazy. This man's insanity went so deep that that Jesus was able to say without any fear of contradiction, "You hypocrite. You hypocrite. You're insane. You've lost your mind. You think you're well, and you're not. You think your spiritual life is strong, and it's weak. You think you're healthier than this woman I just made stand up, and you're not. You're sicker than she is. You think you're righteous, and you're not. You think you're holy, and you're not. You think you know the faith, and you don't. You're sick, and you think you're well. You're strong. You think you're strong, and you're really weak. You think you're holy, and you're really not holy. You think you're close to God, and you're not close to God. You think you're right, and you're not. Whenever I hear things like this, folks, I have to constantly, first and foremost, refer this to myself. If there is anything that this season of the Nativity Fast should teach us, is that none of us stands free from the need for the mercy of God. None of us is without need of God's mercy. And to be asleep to the fact that I need God's mercy, not just now and again, but every waking moment and every sleeping moment. Every moment of my life, I need God's mercy. Now, let me tell you what this will do for you. When you realize you need the mercy of God, you're going to be patient with others. When you realize you need the mercy of God, you're going to be kind to others. Somebody asked me a few weeks ago about fasting. That's always the fun question during a fasting period. How should I fast? And I always tell them this one thing over and over again. I want you to be hard on yourself and easy on everybody else. If you catch yourself looking over at somebody else's plate, smack your hand. Don't do that. Only notice your own plate. Don't notice anybody else's. Be strict with yourself and patient and kind to others. That's the way to stay awake to your own need for mercy. Because you see, brothers and sisters, when you go to sleep for your own personal need for God's mercy, you're going to start looking at other people and start passing judgment on them. You're going to start saying, oh, they're wrong, or they're bad, or they're unacceptable. you're all of a sudden going to be just like this man in the synagogue. There are 6 days to come to the synagogue and be healed. On the Sabbath day, you shouldn't do all that kind of work. Jesus, of course, corrects this man completely and says, you know good and well that if your ox or your donkey needs water, you're going to untie him from the manger and let him go get water, aren't you? How much more so should we do to someone who's created in the image of God? When you go to sleep to God's mercy, you become a hypocrite, folks. When you go to sleep to God's mercy, you become a hypocrite. When you go to sleep to God's mercy and your need for God's mercy, you become self-righteous. You start saying, well, I'm not as bad as so-and-so. Completely asleep to your own spiritual need. This feast of the Nativity that we are approaching is a cataclysmic event for the whole human race. It is the invisible becoming visible for our sake. It is the uncreated God stepping into his creation. It is the artist painting himself into his own portrait. God coming among us to be for us what we cannot be for ourselves. When you think you're sufficient, when you think you're okay, when you think you're right, check and see if you've forgotten you need God's mercy today. You need it. And when you're humble enough to admit that on a regular basis, you'll find yourself patient and loving towards even those who forget that they need God's mercy. May God grant us the courage and the strength to not be so disconnected from reality that we foolishly think we're strong enough to stand without Christ. That we foolishly have enough confidence in our own information, our own knowledge, that we can stand without God's mercy. May God grant us the sanity of waking up to the reality, I need God's mercy every day, every moment of every day, so that I can be healed.